turnovers and make 3 trips inside the 5-yard line and come away with a 21-point loss.
No, it's very unusual. You know, we took yesterday off, Sunday off as a program, and we watched the film this morning, and it's just amazing how close we are. And if you were able to watch that on television or on the webcast, you'd probably agree. But if you just see the score, it doesn't really look like that. But to have a situation where we really went into the game feeling like we could cause turnovers, and lo and behold, we caused 3. 2 to prevent scores, saving us 10 points most likely in the first half, and then 1 putting us in great position and deep in the scoring zone. So first of all, I think that after causing this last turnover, the Brandon West fumble, we needed to score a touchdown there. And Marvon Sanders, you know, almost got his hands under that ball. It was very close. It was a good call, but unfortunately, we had to settle for 3. That was a big difference because that, you know, we had kind of hung around, not playing very well offensively in the first half. To have it 17-14, if we would have scored a touchdown, would have made a big difference. And then obviously after Ja'Cory Stone made the great catch coming from out of bounds to put it at the 1-yard line, we had 8 snaps of goal line offense inside our opponent's 2-yard line. 8 snaps, we've scored 5 touchdowns. So we obviously felt giving the ball to Blevins twice there was a good move. Unfortunately, we missed a couple blocks in there, and Dalmas made a very good play on the first play tackling Terrence. And then I thought Biggers made a great play on the ball with the jump ball with Josh LeDuc. It wasn't very well executed by the quarterback and the tight end there. So, yeah, we had some key drops, too. I think, you know, our tight ends dropped 3 balls uncharacteristically. All 3 of them were drive stoppers, either 3rd or 4th downs. Either we had to punt or we turned it over on downs. And those were significant plays because they would have extended drives. They were all in Western Michigan's territory, which probably would have led to points. So, you know, and then I think we got some pressure by Brad Orman and especially Spencer Smith, and they were just that 1/10 of a second late to affect the pass versus just getting a quarterback hit. So continue to be very close, but that obviously is disappointing.
The team get frustrated that week in and week out they see close, just a couple plays away from making it happen.
Yeah, absolutely, they're frustrated, and we all are. Our fans, the coaching staff, administrators, and the players. And all we can do is continue to work to get better fundamentally and then execute when it's really on the line. And that's what we failed to do against Army, against Akron, and now Western Michigan.
You guys had a problem with the defensive backs weren't turning around, and obviously you guys practice that, but you know, is that something that's going to be an extra focus in these next 2 weeks off? Yeah,
it's been something that we focused on tremendously during the course of the year, and something that I personally am very critical of. And our kids, you know, Kevin Long, Arrington Hicks, they've got to do a better job of staying in phase with the wide receiver, and then certainly turning around for the ball. And it's something that they do very well in practice, but in that critical situation in the games, they go back to maybe some techniques that they used in high school that were successful, and unfortunately has cost us. You know, that game defensively, if you could take away some of those long passes, you know, we're right where we need to be.
Several weeks now, and we kind of talked about this, I know, off and on, and the slow starts for the team. You haven't scored a point in the first quarter since the Indiana State game. Every game, you find yourself behind the 8 ball right out of the gate. What do you do to correct that? I know in the past you told me it was the starters, you know, not being able to practice has kind of affected that, but this past week the starters were, I think, healthy. What do you do to overcome these slow starts?
Well, you just have to continue to emphasize, you know, having a fast start and executing well in the first quarter, and that's unfortunately what we haven't done. And looking, we had 3 possessions in the first quarter, and we had opportunities to make plays on 3rd medium, 3rd and short around the 50-yard line, and unfortunately either we didn't execute or our opponent has made a play. It's a very unusual stat, but it's something that we obviously will address, and I think it comes back to fundamentals and executing.
As far as practice goes these next 2 weeks, is this first week going to be kind of a lighter practice and then back to normal the second week? Or?
No, what we're planning to do is spend some time with in lifting weights, conditioning early in the week, and then we'll have 3 pretty heavy practices Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And we'll really do the same thing. We'll do some recruiting, off-campus recruiting the following week on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then we'll practice again Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So really, to answer your question, we'll be very focused on our fundamentals, improving a lot of the things that you see from an execution standpoint not getting done, allowing some of our younger players, our freshmen and sophomores, to get a lot of reps. We'll have a full game-like scrimmage on Saturday for the younger players. And then, obviously, in the second week, we'll take a good look at Temple and try to get 2 or 3 extra practices to prepare for Temple, given the fact that we'll have 8 or 9 games on them from a film standpoint.
Are you afraid that with that lapse in time that there might be some rust on the team and that you might get out to an even slower start?
Well, there's certainly a concern, there's no doubt, because it's hard to replicate the game type speed and how hard and fast you have to play. We will do some first-string versus first-string offense and defense, but you also want to get healthy, too. We've had a huge liability from an injury perspective, and we're looking forward to at least the guys who haven't had season-ending surgery, that they would be back and be at full strength for the Temple game.
You mentioned you want to focus on fundamentals during those couple of weeks. What areas in particular? Are there certain positions that you want to maybe see if you can make improvements before the season's finished?
Really, it'd be across the board, Dave. I could go through each position and give you 2 or 3 items. So even special teams, too. I think Patrick Treppa had a very good game against Western Michigan, our backup punter. But just, kickoff coverage, just throughout. I think in every team, when you have a bye week, especially a 21-day break between games, you can find many things to work on, and it'll almost be like a mini spring practice for us.
Back to training camp.
Yeah, sure.
Speaking of kickoffs, was it intentional that you guys were kicking the ball short, or is that just the way it was coming off the tee?
No, there's 2 schools of thought. Obviously, you can kick the ball deep to their returners. If you're covering the deep kick well, you continue to do that. If you question your deep kickoff coverage, or you feel like their returner is very good, you can do what's called a sky kick, mortar kick. Each team has different names for it, but it's an opportunity to kick the ball short. Sometimes they're hard to field, and usually once a year you'll have a mishandled ball where you'll get it. And given the fact that the ball comes in, or you have to kick it from the 30, it's not a huge loss in field position. We did 2 of those kicks. One was at the we tackled at the 30, and the other one was at the 34. So that's really not too bad.
So when do you start focusing then? You mentioned you'll focus a little bit on the next opponent, Temple. Have you had a chance to look at them yet at all?
Yeah, I looked at them on the way back from Kalamazoo, and they've got a very good defense. Their front 4 probably is the best in the league, and they held Western Michigan to 7 points, and they've had some very good defensive performances. So that's the side of the ball that I've focused on at this point in time, knowing that their quarterback has been on. I think he is back now, and he's a good player. So it'll be a tall order for us to go out there to Philadelphia in the NFL environment and play well.
Speaking of quarterbacks, Andy Schmidt, how's he doing these days?
He's doing better. I think his knee injury is probably 90% now, and he's able to walk around a little bit during the week. And then his shoulder is slowly on the mend, but he still have it in a sling for the most of the time.
He had some trouble on some of the touch passes.
Yeah, I thought that he wasn't as sharp as he normally is. And like I said, we also had the drops by the tight end, so both of those things combined for some missed opportunities.
I think on one play, going back to the game, I think you had Dante O'Gage that was on a field of a flea flicker ready to go downfield.
Yeah, boy, I wish you would have threw it.
If he'd waited, I think, another second.
Yeah.
It looked like he had a man breaking free.
Yeah, Tyler Jones was breaking free, and sometimes on those reverse passes, the individual who ends up with the ball can't quite see the receiver, and you just got to kind of squeeze the ball and trust it, because Tyler ended up coming wide open. It would have been a pretty easy touchdown, but he panicked a little bit trying to get the ball out and just not take a loss and threw it out of bounds.
Kind of one of those plays where you say you're that close.
Oh, right,
One of the
right.
ones you look at.
And believe me, we're trying to score in the first quarter, calling that early in the first quarter.
Speaking of it, is Dwayne Priest 100% yet, or is it still kind of?
I think that at the beginning of the game he caught a screen pass and was tackled very hard on our sideline, and I think that he then re-injured his ankle a little bit. So he's close, I mean, he's in that 90% category. But, those high ankle sprains, you can be fine to walk around. You can be fine to run a straight ahead 40-yard sprint. But when you start really doing a lot of lateral movement that you'll do in a football game, that's when it starts to become a little weaker as the game goes on.
Kind of maybe taking a look at the long view. Even though there's 3 weeks left in the season, you only have 2 games.
Right.
What have been the things you've been most disappointed? Because, I mean, you're out of the MAC West race, so that's kind of gone at this point. What areas have you been disappointed? What areas have you been most pleased with?
Well, I think just the ability to execute and make some plays when they really matter. And if you think back to the Army game, 4 possessions in the fourth quarter around our own 30-yard line, that we can't come away with a win there. And really the same thing what I said earlier about Western Michigan. We 2 times with the ball at the 1-yard line, 2 possessions, and we come up with no points. You have to be able to execute throughout the game, especially in those critical situations. And I really felt like we would do a better job in that area. And that's obviously, coaching issue, player issue, but just the ability to execute in critical situations. And I would say also defending the deep pass, that's been kind of a continual problem where our cornerbacks, the receiver gets behind them, and then they don't look back for the ball. So I think we've had some ups and downs in there. Each of those areas we have improved on certain games. And then I think the last thing is that putting it all together, meaning that in one particular game, the offense will play well, defense has a bit of an issue, or the special teams are a liability. And so I think just the continuity of all 3 phases playing well so that we can come up with a victory.
Get a couple players who are going to be graduating out of league or exhausting their eligibility anyway, who've been 4-year starters, guys like Dan Holtzclaw. It has to be pleasing to watch their development as players.
Oh, no question. I think if you look at some of our starters who've been starters for 4 years or near 4 years, Daniel Holtzclaw and Jacob Wyatt, Josh Hunt, Spencer Smith, all those guys have played a lot of football for us and have really got better, have bought into the concept of continuous improvement, and then really are very team-oriented guys. On the offensive side, T.J. Lang and Tyler Jones both will be sorely missed, and I think that the progress that T.J.'s made in 2 years has been amazing as an offensive tackle, and he's really getting a lot of looks by the NFL. I think that he's probably our top NFL prospect in talking with some of the scouts. And Tyler Jones' development, you almost wish you could have moved him to receiver right away because he's a special player. And Western Michigan did a good job of trying to take him out of the game a little bit, and we needed to find a way to get him the ball more because he's such a playmaker.
Even with the loss to Western Michigan, you guys still have a chance to hold on to that Michigan MAC trophy against Central Michigan.
Yeah, and we'll address that after the Temple game. We're going to kind of settle in here and get better fundamentally and really focus on Temple. But your question is a fact.